Next, Atlantic Managing Editor Gillian White.
Hi, everyone. I have the privilege of talking to Chef José Andrés, the founder of World Central Kitchen, a nonprofit devoted to providing food to people living through disasters. And he's been a critical part of the COVID-19 relief. José, welcome to the Atlantic Festival.
Thank you very much. Happy to be with you.
Thanks so much for being here. Great. So, first things first, this is such a trying time for everyone individually. It's an especially trying time for people in the restaurant business. How are you? How are you holding up?
Well, I'm holding well. Listen, this is hard for everybody. We are going something that we never imagined. Probably what we're going through, many of us, we only saw it on science fiction movies.
Yeah.
But it's happening, and we are all on this together. And this is such a powerful moment if everybody embraces that idea that you can think like you can overcome the obstacles ahead on your own and trying to take care of your family, and that's it. But actually, if we think about it, we can overcome what we're going through if we all understand the meaning of working together, we the people. So whatever we're going to have as leaders, we need to have leaders that understand the three beautiful words in the creation of America. We the people is what is going to move all of us forward. I am trying to be there next to the people. It's people helping me, and I'm trying to be there helping them.
I was going to say, can you talk to me a little bit about what you're doing? Obviously, people know you so well as a chef, know your famous restaurants, but so much of your work in recent years has focused on getting food to people who need it most. What does that look like in the age of coronavirus and COVID-19? You know, we've seen this work from you before in hurricanes and kind of ravaged places, but this is just on the ground in the U.S., no kind of natural disaster, just day-to-day life. So what has that work looked like in COVID-19?
Well, listen, very simple. The men and women of World Central Kitchen, we are on our way of reaching 40 million meals on this pandemic alone. We've been serving food in thousands of places every day. At one moment, we've been serving over 300,000 meals a day. We are in more than 40 states. We've fed hundreds of hospitals from New York to San Francisco. We've been in places as COVID-19 was becoming a reality, even in communities that they thought they were not going to get it, like the Navajo Nation, a Navajo Nation that very much covers 4 states in the heart of America. And we've been there next to them, helping them go through this pandemic. So at the end of the day, the men and women of World Central Kitchen, we've been there to take care of what nobody saw coming, from homeless to shelters, to elderly homes, to first responders, to hospitals, nurses, and doctors. We've been there next to the people, solving quick problems in a moment, beginning in March, that very much everybody went to shut down their business and everybody stay home to quarantine. The men and women of World Central Kitchen, we were out in the world trying to transform problems into solutions.
That's incredible. What are the people of World Central Kitchen seeing as they're out there trying to feed so many of these people?
Well, the reality is that for the men and women of World Central Kitchen, we've seen this from the very beginning. Me personally, I was following what was happening in China. Everybody that knows me, they have an idea that I'm very interested in how we feed people through hardships. And when I saw what was going on in China, I tried to learn how people were eating and were being fed in China itself, in the heart of China, in Wuhan. This gave me a very good idea of trying to think, wow, if this is going to hit America, how we will respond. Before we knew, we were responding because in February we had people in Japan. We had to send a team to help feed the Princess cruise ship. If you think about it, almost the first major cruise ship that got COVID cases From there, we went to Oakland at the call of the governor of California, and we began also feeding the Princess cruise ship there. Through all of this, we've seen how people, they've been acting to this day. We need to understand that 6, 7, 8 months ago, nobody knew how to respond to Wuhan, what was happening in Wuhan, what was happening with this virus. And all of a sudden, we had all to adapt. So for us, the most important was learning with boots on the ground. First thing, the men and women at World Central Kitchen, the first thing I did was writing down a health protocol to tell restaurants, to tell cooks, to tell our teams and the restaurant community how to behave inside the restaurant and how to behave outside the restaurant, as we understood the restaurants had to be occupying an important role in feeding. So the reality today is this, that we had many problems before in America and around the world, that this pandemic is only making bigger. Now the problems are very obvious. And what we're trying to do is two things. Make sure that we cover the problems as we see them coming, but also we're showing governments how the response should be happening. So today I see lines of hunger in America, lines that I never imagined I was going to see in the most powerful country in the world. And we are here to try to make sure that we tell our president, that we tell Congress, guys, we have these problems, but these problems have a very simple solution. Let's make sure that we keep everybody fed. Let's make sure that we keep everybody healthy in the process. And let's make sure that in the process of feeding people, we are also helping restart the economy.
You know, it begs the question, and you brought this up a little bit in your first answer when you talked about leadership. What is your view, given that you and your people have been on the ground in so many places, of the government response as it relates to hunger, as it relates to food supply? How do you think the government has been doing?
I think right now that every time we make any comment becomes highly politicized. Seems that if you are criticizing the response of somebody, means that you are from the other party and vice versa. I've been always all my life to try to be very pragmatic. And what I know is this. I think that food is an afterthought. I don't think we take food serious enough. I think right now we need to understand that the food US policy is making America sick, and in the process is making the world poorer. And I think should be in the best interest of Congress to feed America in the best possible way. Obviously, it's going to be a lot of disagreement in what that means. But the reality is this. America today, the richest country on the face of Earth, has an obesity pandemic, has a health issue, and all those issues, a very big reason, are based on the Farm Bill that makes calories highly accessible to people, calories with not a lot of nutrients, that is making huge amounts of Americans sick and creating national security issues like right now our military doesn't have enough young men and women to fulfill their needs. This is a national security issue. Right now we are having, because climate change that we are not addressing, the moment that one day we may wake up and it's not enough cereal, corn, soy production to export, and maybe one day even less to feed Americans. We take food for granted.
Are you worried about a hunger epidemic being layered onto the health pandemic that we have right now? How concerned are you about hunger specifically in this moment?
We've seen through this pandemic long lines in the food banks. We've seen through this pandemic school systems reacting differently to this entire situation, where some school systems, they kept feeding children, but where other school systems shut down. We've seen through this pandemic that SNAPs, what we call food stamps, they've not been there to meet the needs of people. For example, if you are an elderly person and you cannot go out because all of a sudden you don't have any help at home coming to do basic shopping, and all of a sudden you don't have enough money to call the companies that charge a lot to bring you food home, It will be so smart that we will put the food stamps at the service of feeding those elderly person at home, that they will put their lives at risk if they adventure outside their door. We were not there to make a quick decision to allow our elderly, especially elderly in need, to be feeding themselves in a safe way. The school systems, we didn't increase the school lunches to not only feed the children, but also, why not, feed the families in need. We didn't use those systems of distribution. Even in some places, we saw good news. Some people use the yellow buses to do food distribution through the different neighborhoods where those buses will, in the old days, pick up the children. They became kind of delivery. So it's good news. Things happen at some levels, but in many other levels, we fall way short.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things we've seen so much during this epidemic has been celebrities, people of note, people in the public eye really coming forward to start their own initiatives. Obviously, World Central Kitchen has been around for quite some time, and you've been doing this, but I heard that you are partnering up with a friend, LeBron James, who is working on a voter advocacy organization. Can you talk to us about that partnership and also how you see your causes as being aligned?
Well, right now, all the options are on the table. We have election day coming, and we realize that we've been having some issues because this pandemic and because the polling places, some of them, they've been closing down, and we've been putting more people in one polling place. That this began creating the problem of too many people waiting in line, sometimes for hours. And we thought that we had to be doing something about it. So we began feeding already in some elections a few weeks ago, people to try to learn if this really was a problem. And at the end, this is very simple. We are creating this idea of chefsforthepolls.org. There is where you're going to be able to see. And the idea is simple, that any American that is hungry, waiting online because they are in places that is not even restaurants open, we will make sure that we are there to feed any American that want to exercise the right to vote and being part of the democratic system that America is all about. So we're going to be here to make sure that nobody is hungry or thirsty waiting for long hours online. And that will be the idea. And yes, we will partner with anybody that has the same very simple, humble idea that is the beginnings of America, to make sure that everybody is able to vote and express themselves on election day.
Yeah. What do you say to people who are surprised to see people kind of coming out of what they would consider their lanes? So you're a chef. LeBron James is obviously a sports mogul and an NBA player. What would you say to folks who criticize you guys and say that you don't need to be getting involved in politics or kind of organized action and should just stick to what you know?
Well, when I became American a few years ago, before I did my swearing to America, to the Constitution, the number one thing they tell us is that to be an American is not to be active on the day that you are supposed to vote, a sacred day, a day that you express yourself and you help choose your future leaders that will keep moving all of us, we the people, forward. So for me, I took that to heart because also they told me that to be an American is go beyond that, is being part of our democracy every day, to be an active citizen every day. So let's go back almost 200 years ago, Clara Barton. Many of us heard her name, but she was a nurse. That was more than a nurse. She was a hero. She was able, single-handed, to put a system, as the nurse she was, to take care of the wounded soldiers during the American Civil War. Thanks to Clara Barton, the Red Cross was created. She was a nurse and she took care of the people. Thanks to her, America was slightly better. I'm a cook and I feed people. I'm here to do what we do best, making sure that no American will be hungry or thirsty, waiting for long hours. So if politics means being involved in the betterment of the lives of others, so I guess we are all into politics. I think politics is having the wrong connotation. I think we all should be in politics. We all should be in the business of expressing ourselves with respect to our ideas and to respect to others people's ideas. But where we the people is above anybody. It's not about I the person anymore and I'm going to impose on you, but it's on we the people. We're all together. We're going to be solving many of the problems that we face every day. So
well, Jose,
if that's politics, welcome to the politics.
Well, Jose, thank you so much for the work that you were doing. And thank you so much for being here with us. And to our audience, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation.
Thank you for having me.